Yes guys, how are we doing, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So in this video, I'm going to go through my top 10 mobility exercises that everybody should be doing on a weekly basis. Firstly, before we go into the mobility exercises, we've got to understand why we want to implement mobility into our week. Mobility helps us increase our range of motion in both our joints and our muscles, not only in that particular mobility exercise, but also other exercises as well. That leads me nicely into point number 2, and that's an improved performance in the gym. An increased range of motion in your joints and muscles allows you to perform exercises a lot better. Let's take squats for example, and let's say you have an improved range of motion in your hip flexors. You know, that squat is going to feel a lot better, and over time you're going to be able to lift more weight. The third and final one, and a really important point, is it reduces the chance of injury. So when you first start training the first couple of years, you know, you're probably going to be injury free. You know, you're not going to notice those kind of niggles here and there to begin with, but over time it does catch up on you. You know, including mobility exercises is going to help reduce that injury risk to allow you to keep training efficiently over a period of time. So these are my top 10 mobility exercises that I feel that everybody should be doing with only minimal equipment required. I'm going to break them down between 5 lower and 5 upper. I'm going to get started with lower first. First up, we have a Duct Rocks, which is a fantastic exercise for your hips and your adductors. What we're going to do with this exercise is we're going to fully straighten out one leg to the sides, and then we're going to kind of drive back towards your ankles. That basically opens up your hips really nicely, and then back into that starting position. Make sure you use a bit of momentum, but not too much. And you can really kind of feel the stretch in the inside of your leg. Next up, another exercise to open up the hips, and this is called the frog stretch. So it might feel a little bit unusual in this position. It might feel a little bit tight to begin with if you've never done this before, and it's definitely not the type of exercise that you want someone to walk into the room and catch you doing, but nevertheless it's a really good exercise for your hips. You can also make this a kind of active mobility exercise, a little bit like the Duct Rocks, where you're kind of going backwards and forwards at a nice controlled tempo. Just make sure with this one that you just take it nice and easy, and over time your hips will open up and it will feel easier to do. Just don't go past your own range of motion. Number 3 is the 90-90 rollover. There's lots of different variations of like a 90-90 stretch and different positions that you can be in, but this is one I feel that everybody can do. You can kind of do it with your hands behind you for a little bit of safety and stability, or you can do it with no hands until that's a little bit more advanced. But this exercise again is amazing for unlocking the hips, and this involves just performing the exercise at a really nice controlled pace, side to side, nothing crazy. Make sure you don't bang your knee on the ground, but it does involve maybe just a slight pause at the bottom part of the movement. For this particular exercise, I'd suggest doing anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds for 1 or 2 sets. Coming in at number 4, and this is the Pigeon Pose, and this is a fantastic exercise that's going to work a lot of different muscles, your groin, hamstring, and also your hips. Just like the frog stretch, this particular exercise is going to feel a little bit strange to begin with when you first get into the position, and you're going to feel a lot of kind of tightness in certain areas, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that maybe your range of motion isn't quite there. I promise you, over a period of time, if you perform this particular stretch, it's going to increase that range of motion and you're not going to feel as much tightness over time. Make sure you bring one leg across and then the other leg fully extended back in a reasonably comfortable position. Don't kind of overextend. Try not to kind of hunch over too much, and just kind of stay in that position for 20 to 30 seconds. Last but not least is the banded lion hamstring stretch, which you can actually perform without a band, but I prefer this exercise with a band. I just feel you have a little bit better stability. What you might find with this particular stretch is, if you haven't been in this position before, if you have poor flexibility, or you just haven't done this for a while, you might find your leg start to shake, which is normal over a period of time. This will kind of slowly disappear. But what I want you to do with this particular exercise is I want you to hook the band under the bottom of your foot and then kind of pull the band all the way up. Just make sure you don't kind of overextend, and by that what I mean is trying to bring your knee as close to your chest as possible. You want it slightly bent, and you want to kind of have a bit of resistance on it, but just don't pull it back too far. Over a period of time, your range of motion will get a lot better, and when you perform exercises such as RDLs, these are going to feel a lot more effective. If you're enjoying this video so far, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more mobility content. Okay, cool, so we're going to go into some upper body mobility exercises, and if I'm honest, it was actually really tricky narrowing it down to just 5, as I feel there's so many amazing upper mobility exercises out there, but I feel that I've narrowed it down to the top 5. The first one is thread the needle. So this is a really fantastic exercise to release the tension in your upper back, your neck, your thoracic spine as well, really kind of stretching out into that position. Make sure your other hand is nice and stable when you do so. Don't kind of rush the movement at all. Feel that kind of big stretch, and as you come back, a slight pause and then go straight into the exercise. This exercise for myself is best performed doing anywhere between 8 to 10 reps for a couple of sets. Another exercise for your thoracic spine is kneeling rotations. So definitely when you're looking at implementing some mobility exercises and stretches into your upper mobility routine, make sure you get a exercise that really focuses on thoracic spine, because this is really essential right now with a lot of people working at home. You know, you're going to get a lot of tightness in your upper back, and we need to strengthen that T-spine. So the kneeling rotations is a really good exercise to allow you to do this. Nice controlled, make sure you kind of fully stretch without kind of overstretching and going past that range of motion. Number 3 is one of the most commonly used upper mobility exercises, and that's called the cat-cow. So this is a really fantastic exercise for your spine, upper back, and neck as well. Make sure in both positions you have a slight pause, and make sure you really try to fully extend all the way up to the top part of the movement in the cat position, and also down in the cow position. If there's just one exercise that I want you to take from this video and straight away start doing, it's this one, because this exercise is really amazing just for opening up the upper back. For this exercise, I really like to do 5 holds of each. So 5 holds in the cat position and then 5 holds in the cow position. Number 4 is axial rotations, and this can be performed a number of different ways. The one that I'm going to speak about is going to be on the ground, but you can also do it against a wall as well. What I want you to do is get onto the ground and lay on your back. You're going to put your hands behind you, and what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and keep our elbows onto the ground throughout, and then we're going to bring our hands kind of past our shoulders. Just like with any mobility exercise, you may experience some discomfort. There may be a few clicks, which is normally fine. If you do experience some kind of pain, then it's definitely something that I would kind of seek some assistance with before continuing with this exercise. But this one is a really fantastic exercise for your shoulder health. It really helps with the range of motion in your shoulders. So when you're doing anything like overhead press, you know, it's a really efficient mobility exercise. This is another one for your shoulders. This is the prone Y raise. Just like I said a second ago in terms of the axial rotations helping with the press movements, this one does exactly that. Once you're on the ground and your arms are in an elevated position and you start to perform this exercise, what you'll find is your shoulders and your kind of upper body fatigue really quickly. Again, this is kind of natural. I wouldn't say that means your shoulders are weak or anything like that. It's just a different kind of mobility exercise to maybe what you're used to. If you just want to do 2 shoulder mobility exercises that are pretty basic and don't involve much equipment, it would be these 2. So they are my top 10 mobility exercises that I feel you should be doing on a weekly basis. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more mobility type content, then consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.